to another video slash podcast. This is the first that we're recording for both. And if this is your first time tuning in, I'm Yolandi, I'm your personal stylist, and I believe in unleashing your most stylishly confident self through self-discovery and mindset work. But of course, building a solid foundation with some style principles. This week, we're talking about what to do with our old clothes and sustainable shopping. So part of my process when I go through with my clients is that we clean out the closet. So after we have their body shape down and we know what styles work well for them, we know what they have as far as style personalities and what kind of aesthetics they're drawn to, we can then go into the closet using all that criteria and pull anything out that doesn't belong. Once you have the things that you're willing to get rid of, there are a number of avenues that you can pursue with these items. You can take them to local homeless shelters, you can donate them to resale shops in your area, or you can have a yard sale, or you can list them on any number of the websites I'm about to tell you about. So make sure you stick around and get all of the details on those because they are pretty fantastic. So first avenue is donation. Okay, so what do I do with these? Where do I go? Like I said, you can look up women's shelters in the area. You can find homeless shelters, like underground railroads. There are all kinds of places who will take these things. The other avenue, if you haven't got one locally that you feel really good about supporting, is to go online and donate to any number of charities. There will be a full list of places that I recommend you go to on my blog. So if you're not following that, or if you're not subscribed to my email, definitely go subscribe to that because I send my blog post, or at least the link to the blog post, in the email every week. And this week, it's going to have a list of all the places you can donate to, as well as these sustainable shopping sites that I am about to tell you about. So one place that I am really enamored with, shall we say, is Free the Girls. Free the Girls is a charity where you can take your bras and send them in, and they use these bras to support women who have survived sex trafficking and help reintegrate them into their societies, teaching them life skills, business skills, and putting them in a situation where they thrive. That's just one place that you can take your things, or send your things rather. And like I said, there's going to be a full list up on the blog, on my website, and definitely check it out and see where you can send these things that you don't want anymore. So then the flip side of that is the shopping. Once we have done the closet clean out, we then go shopping. And sometimes this is hard for people because they just got rid of things, and we're not shopping just to shop. We're not just buying things to buy things. We're consciously shopping. We're filling holes. We are filling the holes in your wardrobe that aren't allowing you to make complete outfits and feel totally put together. For those instances, if you are really wanting to shop sustainably, first of all, check your local thrift stores. There's nothing like secondhand clothing, which basically all of these options that I'm about to give you is secondhand options. So first of all, check your local thrift stores. If you have gone through the steps with me, we've got your list, your closet's cleaned out, you know what styles suit you, you've got your body shape, your proportions, you know how to dress those things, you know how to manipulate the things so that if you find something that's not, a perfect fit, the right sleeve length, the right neck shape, but you like something about it and you know how to work with it, then you've got pretty much free reign. And now, once you've got all those pieces, you can go to your thrift store. You can find things that aren't quite perfect, but you're going to be able to make them perfect for you because you now know what it is that you're looking for, and you'll know how to tweak it, which is the other key in shopping in this situation that I'll mention is tailoring. Tailoring is your best friend. So if you don't have a tailor or a seamstress or somebody that you can take your clothes to fix them and make them fit your body more properly, then you should find one. Definitely find one straight away, because that is the key to making anything off the rack fit perfectly. If you go even into a regular store and you find a blazer or, a skirt and the hem is just an inch too long, you can take it to your tailor and have them pull it up. If you, like I said, found that blazer and it needs a little nip in the waist because you have a tiny waist, like an hourglass or a pear, as the common terms go, then as an equal focus or a bottom focus, you can pull that in so it fits your waist. Because if this is you and you're listening to this and you're like, oh yeah, my waist is tiny, things never fit there, you know exactly what I mean, because it's also me. I know what that means. So you've checked thrift stores and they're not really your jam. You're not finding the things you want, and you're not really in for the hunt, which is also another thing. People say they don't like going thrift shopping. If those aren't your thing, the thrill of the hunt is not thrilling for you, then there are places like Poshmark, Vinted, ThreadUp, and those are just 3 that I can think of offhand that you can go to. And not only can you search and find the items that you want, and this doesn't just mean like Target's exhilaration shoes that somebody wants to get rid of. You can find things like Christian Louboutins on there. I have 3 pairs saved in my favorites that I haven't decided if I really want yet. You can find Chanel, Michael Kors, like that stuff does show up on there. So not only can you buy pre-loved clothing on these sites, you can also sell your clothing on these sites. But again, like I said in the beginning, if this sounds like too much work, taking the photos, making the listing, and I've done it. I have a few things listed on there right now on Poshmark and Vinted, and it can be a lot of work, but ultimately it can be worth it if you're saving it from a landfill or an open air market in a third world country, which if you check my blog post, you will see. The blog post will be up Friday, by the way. If you check my blog post, you'll see I included a photo of the open air markets, and there are just literally clothes piled people high. Like you would need to stand on someone's shoulders to get to the top high of clothes that are used, that have been donated and given to them from overseas. And that's where it ends up, is in these markets. Goodwill is notorious for this. They rotate their stock on their sales floors often, and things that have been hanging around for a while, they get rid of. And they, box it up and ship it to recyclers, and then it goes to these overseas markets and it's sold by the ton. So on that note, some education that you can arm yourselves with. I'm going to recommend a couple of books. Number 1 is Overdressed. I have misplaced my copy, or I would be holding it up for you right now. Overdressed is a fantastic book from Elizabeth Klein, and it's all about the process that retailers go through to make clothing, and how she discovered what cheap fast fashion really costs, and what she decided to do about it, which was the antithesis, which she called slow fashion. So it's a lot of upcycling, it's recycling, it's mending things when they're worn instead of throwing them away, and finding a new purpose for them. So this is alternative number 3, before I tell you about book number 2. Alternative number 3 to thrift shopping, to selling your clothes, is to upcycle them. I have a board on my Pinterest. You can look it up, Hamilton Styling, and there are tons of ideas to recycle your clothing. And basically, if you're handy enough and you can cut a pattern and play geometry, putting the pieces together, then you can definitely take an old item, lay out your pattern pieces, cut the shape, and then put them together. And all you need is something big enough for your pattern piece to fit on in order for it to be usable. So you can follow my board on Pinterest and check out all the ways that you can upcycle things and rework them. And if you're not handy enough, but you've got ideas, like it sparks something for you, you can probably take your items to a local seamstress, or if you've got a friend, a grandma, mom, somebody that you know who's really handy, you can give give them the pattern and they can craft your piece if you just share your vision and explain what it is that you're trying to do. I love to sew, so I do this with things quite often. When things wear out, I just fix them, or I put it in my bin, which this can also be a dangerous habit, so don't get too into wishful thinking because you can become a hoarder. I have 3.5 like 4-gallon Rubbermaid totes full of clothes that I've picked up or have worn out, stuff that my son has outgrown that I can, quote, use this fabric for something. And so don't fall into the trap of like hoarding all these things because you're going to use it for something. Make sure you have a purpose. And what I recommend is getting rubber bands and note cards from the dollar store. Mark what you want on it, on the note card. If you want to harvest it for, the top half of a dress and you have another, an old skirt that you want to use as a bottom and you're going to piece the two together to make a dress, then yes, that is something you can do. Rubber band them together, write out what you're thinking on this note card. So that way, if you can't get to it right now, you still have it like a record of your thought somewhere physically. So when you pick it up again and you're like, what is this? Now you'll know. The other book that I mentioned, which is also by Elizabeth Klein, is The Conscious Closet. This book talks about some really easy ways to, one, build a capsule wardrobe, which I'm not a fan of capsule wardrobes. Like just the term capsule gives me the willies, but definitely some useful actions in here and strategies and things to recognize when you have a good piece if you're like thrift shopping and stuff. So check that one out to arm yourself with a bit more knowledge for what that's all about. So these are just some ways that when we go through the process together and we've cleaned out your closet and then you're like, well, now what? Obviously, I will help you facilitate these decisions. We will decide how to handle your items together. And if you want zero responsibility, I will take them and I will send them into these charities. I have no problem with that. I would rather make sure that they go to someone who can use them or to support a good cause than for them to be cluttering up your closet space and your psyche. Because as you saw on my live video this past Sunday, the organization of a closet is important. I pulled all my clothes and I did a lot of talking, explaining it, but really the amount of time it took me to pull my clothes for the week was roughly 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And if I hadn't done all that talking in between, that's all it would have taken me. The video would have only been 10 minutes long, a 10-minute live of me pulling out my clothes, and that would have been it. But I explained it, so that did add a little bit of length. You're not into shopping for pre-loved clothes at thrift stores, or you don't want to go to Vinted. You don't want used clothes. You want to buy new clothes, but you still want to do it sustainably. I do have a couple of options also listed for that in the blog post. And one of them that I will say is H&M, surprisingly. H&M has a huge initiative, a huge conscious initiative to reduce the impact while still making affordable fashion. And you can take your clothes, your old clothes, to H&M at a store. I believe it's on pause right now just because COVID concerns. So double check with your stores to see if that's been restarted. But what they'll do is they'll take your clothes and they recycle them. They send them to textile recyclers where it's sorted by the grade of good that it is. And it's either turned into like rags. So like those painter's rags you pick up at Home Depot when you're working on a project. Those are usually recycled clothes, recycled textiles that have been worn or something of that nature. That weren't really like good enough to make new clothes with, but they are still good enough to like weave a fabric once they were broken down. And then others are turned into new fabrics that they can make new clothes out of. And at this point, H&M will take these textiles and actually make the clothes. So if you go in, they usually have a tag on there that says what percentage of recycled fiber it is. It'll say, I think somewhere inside it also says what percentage of recycled material it's made from.
You can also search their website this way. You can just click conscious in the filters and it'll filter out anything that's not made with conscious materials so that you're only purchasing what has a lower impact on the environment. And there are other retailers, like I said, I'm going to list a couple of them on the blog post. So if you're listening to this before Friday the 16th, then go sign up for the email. I will send you in your email the link to the blog, also to this video. If you need a replay, it'll be right in there. And then you can read the full list of all these things. So sign up for the Style Mail newsletter because that's where you'll find the information lickety split. All right, so takeaways from this video. Number one, when we're going through the process together, or if you just need, to update your space and clean out your closet, you now have some options as far as what you can do with those. So check out the blog post for all of the amazing charities that you can donate to, send your things into. Number two, find ways to shop that aren't wasteful or adding to the production cycle. Somebody's going to buy new clothes, but as the demand drops, they also will produce less. So that's helpful for the environment. And then of course, number three is to, embrace slow fashion, upcycle your clothes, and arm yourself with knowledge about how you can reuse your current items into new things so that they don't become junk in a landfill and rot for thousands of years.
Till next time, guys, go sign up for that Style Mail and receive all the information that I just told you about with the links to the blog. And of course, mind your style. Bye.